Hey everyone, welcome back to the Forever World. Now today we've got some really cool stuff going on. I've got some new mods downloaded actually, which I will show you all about. And I also have plans to build the first building in the world. Now I've done a couple of things off camera. Notably, I have went mining, and this is all I've gotten. 60 iron and 33 diamonds, guys. I also have gotten some redstone, a little bit of lapis, and grabbed a bunch of loot from different spawners I found while caving. So I will make all the diamond tools. We'll start with the pick. Then we'll get an axe going, a shovel, and a sword. Now for the armor, chestplate, leggings, boots, and we have just enough for a hat. Now I don't know exactly where I want to put these, so I will make another chest and I will fill this one up specifically with my diamond gear. Alright, sweet. Now mods wise, one that I downloaded was a mod called Particular, which essentially it adds a bunch of more particles to the game, especially with water. As you can see, with a waterfall, it adds these really cool sort of splashes at the bottom of it, and these particles of water droplets flowing down the waterfall. It also means when I bob in the water, it makes a little square splash around you, which I think is really, really cool. Some of the other notable particles it adds are these little ones around bees, where their little butts release particles. I don't know exactly what it's supposed to be, maybe pollen. But again, those little splashes, they happen when any mob touches water. I think when any block touches water too, like if I throw something in. Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. Now, in terms of the plans for today's episode, so maybe not actually. It wanted me to show you another part of the mod, which is water droplets hitting other water source blocks. For example, in the rain, look at all these little splashes and ripples. They're so cool. Anyways, my plans for today's episode is to gather a bunch of resources and do a little bit of terraforming so that we can set up our starter house in the world. Because don't get me wrong, I love my little stolen villager house, but it would be nice to have something a little more customizable. Now, I think where I want to build this is right over here. There's these little paths that are already set up by some of the villagers, and I think it'd be really cool if we utilize these as little islands in the rivers or little outcroppings that we could expand out and put buildings on. Like I said, this will require a little bit of terraforming, which is no problem at all. And besides, it'll give me something to do. To do that though, I will need a bunch of dirt. So I'm gonna need to find somewhere that I can terraform to cut away at some of the landscape so I can gather some dirt. This spot looks good. I could cut away... Yeah, I can cut away this top bit and then maybe these top 2 layers. Yeah, that'll work. Alrighty, this might take a minute, so I'm gonna put this in a time lapse. Let's go in the world. I was about to do a time lapse, but I just realized, like, 10 of these guys fell down this hole, which I didn't even know that was there. Okay, well, I'm gonna save them. And anyways, let's go for real. So now that that's done, we can start working on terraforming some of these island bits. Now, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. However, I've got a rough idea for what kind of starter house I want to build, and I'll probably base the terraforming off of that. So I think I'm gonna extend this island this way. Let's see if that's good. Like that much roughly. And I'm just gonna start with a square or like a rectangle shape, and I will smooth it out to what seems fit, and then we'll just fill this in, and then I'll carry over the bottom to make it not so sharp, but I'll smooth this out, bring some of it down, and then, like I said, round it out, maybe add a bit to this side, and I'll see you when that's done. Okay, so it's rounded off just a little bit. We'll have to tweak some of the things later, particularly this little connection to the seafloor. However, it's good enough for now. So I am going to lay out some of the little barriers and sort of the blueprint of what the house is gonna, where the house is gonna be and what it's gonna look like. Oh, one of the mods that I forgot to tell you about was one they use on the Hermitcraft server being Bitter Clouds. It turns the clouds from the big blocks into like these more little see-through squares, and I think it makes the world look a lot more realistic without sacrificing FPS like shaders do. Now, this build is going to require some foreign resources, so I am going to go chop 1 or 2 of these jungle trees down. And then I also ventured out and got some spruce from way over there and a couple of oak trees from right up here. And then after thinking about it, I don't want to build here anymore. It's just not a big enough space, and it's not central enough for a good starter house. So I am going to move it up here, and this is where we are going to be building. These are all the resources we're going to be needing for this build. And without further ado, let me show you the blueprint of what it's going to look like roughly. It's going to have a big central square portion and then a little section jutting out from it. Here is the central portion, and here is the bit that's jutting out. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's get building this starter house in my forever world. Alright, and with that, the starter house is complete. Or at least the outside. I did a bunch of detailing and touch-ups. I think it looks amazing, and it would set a really good precedent for the style that I want to build this village in. I want to make this sort of a medieval kind of fisher village on the sea, with a bunch of like not pirate ships, but a bunch of medieval ships and everything docked over here. I plan on tearing this whole village down and making a new custom one. But this is the style that I want to set it as. I don't know why this guy's obsessed with standing right here. Maybe get out of my house. Like I said though, the interior is still completely empty. Which it shouldn't be that bad to do. I've already got some good rooms going on in here. I like this little indented portion. I feel like I could do something cool with that. Maybe have a bed up here. Ooh, this is gonna look cool. Okay, everybody. Without further ado, I give you the house tour. And then coming inside, we got this first room, some flowers there, and some furnaces already stocked with coal, already cooking some meat, being all useful. We head in here. We've got to the left a wardrobe with some shirts and jackets hanging on it. We got a painting, some shelves, a bunch of storage, which is organized. I know, it's crazy. And then our bed up here, a little loft bed, and a window to look outside. And yeah, guys, that's the house. Let me know if you like it. If you have any other suggestions for other buildings. I really, really enjoy this. And it was pretty fun to put together, too. It wasn't that time consuming. The next thing I want to do is probably a barn for animals. Because for the animals, that means we can get some cows going, which means we can get enchants going, which means we can start working on more survival stuff like the nether and beating the game and all those goods that come along with that, say elytra and wonderful things. Okay guys, so the next thing I want to do and the last thing I want to do today is some planning, okay? Which I've set up a little to-do board right here where I will put down some ideas of things I need to do, things I have ideas for, and so on and so forth. And with this, I think it'll help me to remind myself of any ideas that I might forget about when I don't play for a while, or help me visualize new ideas. Get out of my house. While combining some of these. Now I'm gonna add one or two, maybe three ideas if I think of another one. The first one I'm going to add is barn for animals. Okay, we need a barn for cows especially, and also some automatic sheep shearers so that we can get infinite wool, which means infinite emeralds, and the cows so that we can get leather and a full enchant table by making books with the leather. And then the last idea I'm going to put down today is going to be building with enchantment table. Oh, I ran out of space. Enchantment table. So this will be the first one, and then this one will come right after, because after I have the cow farm set up, I will be needing a place to put the actual enchantment table. Which also reminds me, one more thing. I need Farms galore. I need many farms, especially for food. But I will set up a not a carrot farm, a wheat farm and a potato farm. Potatoes for food and wheat for breeding animals. And then the last two that I've just thought of are some more far in the future goals for this little area. And that is a board walk around the entire outside, just a fenced off and walled off walkthrough, and guardrail so that nothing can fall in, right? So the villagers don't get stuck in the water and nothing bad happens. And then the last one is going to be a dock, specifically trading dock with ships, which this one will take a long time. However, I think it'll be so worth it if we can have a bunch of different wood planks and docks and stuff coming out from this part right here, with a bunch of boats docking in and settling in, and possibly an inn or a tavern too, where those sailors that just came from a long journey, say from the Spruce and the Taiga over there, or from distant lands that away, that they can settle down and have a nice drink and go to sleep in the inn. But unfortunately, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's episode on the Forever World. I hope you all enjoyed. I am loving this so far. I'm making so much progress. I am having such a grand old time with this. I hope you are too, watching along with me. If you have any suggestions of builds or stuff to do in the comments, I would greatly appreciate that if you took the time to leave one. And without further ado, guys, leave a like, subscribe, and enjoy the next episode, and goodbye from this one.